The cinematic panorama unveils Kelly's picturesque farmland, adorned by verdant pastures and mirthful beasts galloping in the vicinity. Amidst this idyllic setting, Kelly commences her tranquil stroll, reveling in the exquisiteness of nature's bounties. Her steps are light and purposeful, and a serene expression graces her face. However, her amble is abruptly interrupted as she spies her dearest goat Tia, scampering away through the gate that had been left ajar. Before Kelly can make a move, her neighbor Jackson calls out to her. She hurries towards him, leaving behind the buckets she was carrying, and sees that he is holding Tia in his arms. As she looks down at Tia, Kelly's face softens with empathy. She reminds the goat that she no longer stays at the farm, her words carrying a hint of sadness. But Jackson suggests that Tia could come back to stay at his farm. Kelly quickly refuses, determined to fix the gate and keep Tia from causing any more trouble. As she walks away with Tia in tow, Kelly can't help but feel a sense of loss, silently promising that Tia will no longer be able to visit the farm she once called home. Every day, Kelly spends hours tending to her beloved animals, investing her heart and soul into every task. She regales them with stories of daring adventure and shares her tender words of love and concern. Little does Kelly know, on this particular day, as she pours out her heart to her animal companions, Jackson happens to pass by, completely unnoticed. Yet, as he pauses to listen to her gentle voice and compassionate words, he is instantly entranced, awestruck by the incredible woman before him. In this moment, Jackson perceives something extraordinary in Kelly, a rare quality that sets her apart from all others. With a soft chuckle, he continues along his way. As the day draws to a close, Kelly seeks refuge in the comfort of her home. While cooking her dinner, she is disturbed by an unwelcome sight, an offer to purchase her cherished farm. The news brings her stress and sadness, causing her to wander around her house, surrounded by cherished memories of her family. Just then, her phone rings, and Kelly's face lights up as she answers the call from her sister, Sahara. Sahara's voice is a source of solace and love for Kelly, who feels uplifted as they chat about their lives and reminisce about the past. Sahara invites Kelly to her new home's housewarming celebration, which Kelly eagerly accepts. Later, as Kelly checks her computer, she is delighted to find that her small skincare business has received 13 new orders. Despite the uncertainty she faces, Kelly is filled with a sense of hope and purpose, grateful for the blessings in her life and the love of her family. The next morning, the sun rises over the farmhouse that Jackson recently bought from Kelly's mother. He unloads his belongings and feels content as he starts a new chapter in his life. Meanwhile, Kelly packs her orders with care and attention. She carries 3 large boxes outside and meets a friendly delivery man who offers to help. They chat about the lotion he ordered for a baby's eczema, and he confirms that it worked well. Kelly thanks him, asks for a review, and wishes him well. Later, she heads out to the mailbox and finds an unaddressed letter from an unknown sender. Curious, she unfolds the paper and reads a single sentence in delicate cursive that tells her that her life will unfold like the bloom on a rose. Kelly realizes the irony that the sender is probably a real estate broker trying to persuade her to sell her farm. The next scene takes place at the local plants market, where Kelly and her fellow farmers present their exquisite flowers and precious plants to the community. Caroline, Kelly's mother, approaches her with an outpouring of heartfelt praise for her hard work. Suddenly, a woman and her son, Dex, arrive at their booth. The woman warmly greets Kelly and cautions her against Jackson's attempts to persuade her to sell the farm. Kelly swiftly assures her that this is not the case, and they continue their conversation. Proudly, the woman announces that Dex has recently started teaching at Willow High School. Kelly smiles at the young man, and Caroline reminisces about the summer they spent together as camp counselors, during which they made an exceptional team. The woman suggests they catch up, and Kelly agrees that it has been too long since they last saw each other. Dex invites her to visit the school, and Kelly playfully asks if her stickers are still in their old lockers. They part ways, with the woman paying Kelly for her goods and Dex bidding her farewell with a charming smile. Caroline turns to Kelly and remarks on how sweet Dex is, leaving Kelly to bask in the afterglow of the encounter. Next, Jackson arrives at the bustling marketplace with a sense of purpose, his eyes scanning the crowds as he begins to load his products from the truck. Amidst the chaos of the market, he spots Allison Fletcher and feels a familiar sense of frustration building inside of him. Nevertheless, Allison approaches him with a confident stride. She informs him of Rural Heartbeat, Willow's popular agriculture magazine, which wants to feature him in a story. Despite her enthusiasm, Jackson is hesitant to agree, doubting that his story would be of interest to the magazine's readers. Allison counters his skepticism, pointing out that his story as a former horse-jumping competitor saving a local farm would be newsworthy. However, Jackson insists that Caroline was selling and he was merely buying, not heroically saving a farm. Despite his lack of interest, Allison attempts to convince him to follow the magazine on social media, knowing deep down that he wants to. Jackson, however, remains unconvinced and walks away, his thoughts consumed by his work. Kelly enters the veterinarian's office, leading her beloved goat, Tina, for her routine examination. Dr. Grant greets her with a warm smile, attempting to put her at ease. He asks what Tina might have eaten, to which Kelly responds with uncertainty, citing Tina's tendency to eat almost anything she comes across. As Dr. Grant continues to examine Tina, he mentions that she might be living up to her name, Tiamat, the goddess of chaos. Kelly smiles, impressed by Dr. Grant's knowledge of history, and compliments him on his interesting character. Dr. Grant offers a simple solution to Tina's digestive issues, suggesting the addition of baking soda to her diet. Kelly is grateful for the tip and remarks that it might save her from having to visit the office so frequently. Dr. Grant playfully teases her, stating that it's a shame he won't be seeing her as often, but Kelly thanks him nonetheless. As she heads out of the office, Kelly can't help but feel a sense of relief wash over her. Next, Kelly feels her heart racing with anticipation as she approaches her sister's new abode. She's picked out a beautiful bouquet of flowers for the occasion and holds them tightly. Sahara greets her with a radiant smile and a warm embrace. But as she steps inside, she quickly realizes that this isn't the party she had imagined. There's only Sahara with her husband and a stranger, presumably the realtor who helped her sister find the new place. Kelly is confused, feeling like she's been tricked into attending an intimate gathering. She can't hide her frustration as she questions Sahara about the missing guests. Despite her sister's attempts to calm her down and explain that it's still a housewarming party, albeit a small one, Kelly can't shake off the feeling that she's been set up. She forces a smile and follows Sahara through the house, trying her best to keep her disappointment at bay. The following morning, Kelly is greeted with a fresh missive from the mysterious correspondent. The poetic prose contained within the letter fills her heart with a sense of purpose and direction, as she reads of a love so pure and true that it surpasses all boundaries. The writer's longing for closeness and their desire to share the world's beauty with her strikes a chord within her. With a sense of confusion and a need to make sense of it all, she makes her way to the trash bin and retrieves the first letter, discovering that the handwriting is the same. Overcome with excitement, Kelly seeks out her sister Sahara, a librarian, to share her findings. Upon a long reading, she realizes that the words are not the secret person's own, but are lifted from historical love letters of the past. As they pore over volumes of the library's collection, they find the source of the love letters' inspiration. The experience leaves Kelly feeling both intellectually stimulated and deeply moved by the power of love, both past and present. As the sun rises over the horizon, Kelly awakens with a renewed sense of purpose and vigor. She rises from her bed, feeling motivated and driven. After indulging in a hearty breakfast, she turns her attention to her inbox, where she discovers an overwhelming amount of new orders waiting for her. Her heart swells with joy and satisfaction, knowing that her tireless dedication to her business has paid off once again. Suddenly, a knock at the door interrupts her thoughts. To her surprise, it's Jackson, her neighbor and fellow farmer. In his hands, he holds a box of her mother's belongings that he had found while cleaning out his house. Kelly's initial worries about Jackson's intentions are assuaged by the unexpected box, and she expresses her gratitude to him. As Jackson turns to leave, he inquires about Kelly's mother and how she's been since moving out of the old family home. Kelly assures him that her mother is content and thriving in her new home and job. Jackson nods, happy to hear the news, and bids Kelly a fond farewell with a smile. Kelly can't help but return the gesture. Kelly is lost in a sea of nostalgia as she carefully goes through the box that Jackson has given her. The familiar scent of her father's jacket brings a flood of memories rushing back to her. Next, as she drives towards her mother's place, Kelly spots the mailbox. She can hardly contain her excitement as she eagerly reaches for it and reads the letter from the secret correspondent with a radiant expression on her face. Upon arriving, Kelly presents her mother with the box of sentimental items, each one carrying a cherished memory, and then she turns to her sister and shares the new love letter, which stands out from the rest with its unique words. The letter expresses longing for her. He also mentions that time seems to pass slowly in her absence, and the sound of clocks ringing makes his heart leap with the hope of being reunited. Kelly's mother posits the possibility of a secret admirer. Piqued with curiosity, Kelly decides to delve deeper into the matter and heads to the library in the company of her sister to scrutinize the books from which the letters were extracted. Her sister conjectures that the admirer may be someone from Kelly's bygone days. Suddenly, a brainwave strikes Kelly and she determines to scrutinize the handwriting of the letters in order to discern the identity of the enigmatic lover. Kelly retrieves her staff and hastens to the school to visit Dex. Upon entering his classroom, Dex welcomes her with fervor and inquires whether her arrival is unexpected. Kelly explains that she had mentioned the possibility of dropping by the school during their last conversation. As Dex turns to face the blackboard, Kelly sneaks a peek at his penmanship, hoping to find a correlation with the love letters. Regrettably, no match is discovered. But Kelly and Dex agree to partake in a cup of coffee, with the aim of better acquainting themselves. Kelly exits the school with a gratified feeling. The following morning, Kelly's spirits are lifted as she walks towards the mailbox. To her delight, nestled among the mundane letters and bills, lies another love letter, a token of an anonymous admirer's affection. Reading it with glistening eyes and a smile that reaches her ears, Kelly basks in the blissful moment. but the sudden appearance of Jackson shatters her reverie. He reiterates his proposal to buy the farm, questioning her decision to have a humble life tending goats with a prestigious university degree. Kelly feels her heart sink as she explains that the farm is all she has left after everything else was taken away. Jackson offers his understanding and imparts a pearl of wisdom, saying that letting go isn't the hard part, holding on is. As he questions Kelly about the contents of the letter she reads to the animals, she confesses to that it is a love letter. Jackson, with a note of caution, warns Kelly about the potential dangers of such an admirer. As she walks away with a bright smile, she tells him that her intrigue grows, fueled by the mystery surrounding the anonymous letters. Next, Jackson's eyes scan the stacks of the library, seeking out the volume he desires. At last, his gaze settles on its spine, and he strides purposefully toward Sahara. She informs him that the book he covets is reserved for Kelly, but Jackson presses her, his persuasive powers at work. He insists that the book is the best in the series he's been reading, and he must have it. After some hesitation, Sahara finally relents and hands him the coveted tome. With a satisfied grin on his face, Jackson departs the library. He promises to return it to Kelly as soon as he's finished with it, eager to share the enjoyment of the story with his neighbor. Kelly takes a break from her day and visits her mother, and they enjoy a cozy chat while sipping on freshly brewed coffee. Kelly inquires if her mother is aware of Jackson's proposal to buy the entire land, including Kelly's portion. Caroline, Kelly's mother, responds by reassuring her that she sold only her own land and decided to keep the surrounding area, including her mother's house, for Kelly. Kelly then shares with her mother her plans to go on a date with Dex. Caroline playfully inquires about the location of the coffee date, but Kelly teasingly withholds the information, knowing that her mother may appear unannounced and snap some photos, and they share a light-hearted laugh. Kelly makes her way to the library, where her sister Sahara awaits her. With a twinge of remorse, Sahara expresses her apologies for giving the book to Jackson. Observing the deep connection between Kelly and Jackson, Sahara playfully questions Kelly's priorities, to which Kelly jests if Sahara still wishes to savor her coffee. As Kelly hands over the latest love letter to her sister, Sahara reads it with rapt attention. Kelly muses over the letter's potential sender, suggesting that it could be the charming vet, Dr. Grant. However, Kelly also entertains the possibility that Dex might be the secret admirer. Determined to unravel the identity of her admirer, Kelly decides to date both men in hopes of a confession. In the subsequent scene, Kelly and Dex relish in each other's company and laugh from the depths of their souls. Their time together is filled with unbridled joy and contentment. Later that evening, Kelly makes a grand entrance for her dinner date with Dr. Grant, looking dapper in a chic outfit. They engage in a delightful conversation. Kelly savors the moment, her heart fluttering with the prospect of discovering the true sender of the love letters. Kelly continues to revel in the company of Dex and Dr. Grant, enjoying their charming and affable demeanor. Meanwhile, Jackson can't help but gaze at Kelly longingly, his eyes brimming with affection and admiration from afar. The next morning, Kelly's eyes flutter open, revealing a sense of exhaustion from sleeping late. She rises from her bed and makes her way to check her email, where she discovers a multitude of orders awaiting her attention. After perusing them for a moment, she heads out to the farm to begin her daily routine. In the fields, Kelly comes across Jackson, who greets her with a playful remark about her late wake-up. Kelly expresses her struggle with sleep and her workload, feeling as if she's behind. To her surprise, Jackson offers to help her. Kelly hesitates momentarily before accepting, taken aback by his kindness. The two neighbors make their way to the kitchen, a sense of companionship growing between them. Kelly continues her daily ritual of visiting the letterbox and retrieving a new letter with eager anticipation. As she reads the latest letter, a radiant smile adorns her face, and she heads to the library to share it with her sister, Sahara. Kelly divulges that this is the 13th letter she has received, yet she remains clueless about the identity of her secret admirer. Allison, who had been eavesdropping on their conversation, interjects and introduces herself as a journalist for a magazine. Allison's proposition to pen a tale about the amorous letters and the lucrative offer of a 6-month advertisement deal for Kelly's skincare line tugs at the strings of her curiosity, despite Sahara's reservations about the invasion of her privacy. Kelly's inquisitive nature piques, and she decides to visit Allison at the magazine office the following day. In the midst of a photo session, Allison delves into the contents of the love letters, extracting every minute detail from Kelly's mind. Kelly, in turn, offers her perspective on the sender's identity and the reasons behind his anonymity. An enchanting picture of Kelly is captured, a sight to behold, and destined for the cover of the magazine. The publication finally hits the stands, and Kelly's image adorns the front page, drawing the attention of everyone in town. Dex appears baffled upon reading the article, while Dr. Grant's lips curl into a smile as he reads it, relishing the tale. Jackson too receives the notification on his phone, and he reads the article with a sense of confusion. curious to learn more. The subsequent scene portrays Sahara racing towards her mother Caroline, clutching the magazine tightly in her hand. She implores Caroline with a worried tone, asking if she isn't concerned about Kelly's newfound exposure. Caroline calmly replies that Kelly is dating two accomplished men, and she is elated that she is finding happiness once more. Despite Caroline's attempt to assuage her concerns, Sahara still can't shake off the feeling that Kelly's privacy has been compromised. The scene transitions to Kelly's home, where she is suddenly startled by the sound of thunder outside. Kelly dashes out of her house, frantically searching for her beloved goat, Tia. She runs and calls out to her, only to collide with Jackson. After hearing about her predicament, he decides to help her find Tia, and they continue their search in the pouring rain. Eventually, they arrive at Jackson's working place, where they finally find Tia safe and sound. As Kelly takes in her surroundings, she notices a project that Jackson is working on and can't help but ask him about it, her curiosity piqued. He explains that it's a therapeutic riding camp for kids. He reveals that the idea was his sister's idea, and thus why he needs Kelly's land. Kelly expresses her happiness that the farm is in good hands but laments her mother's attempt to sell any part of it. Their discussion then turns to the magazine article, and Jackson inquires if the letters have persuaded Kelly's secret admirer to reveal himself. Despite the lack of response, Kelly states her readiness to move on from the whole ordeal. She admits that she enjoyed her time making products with Jackson more than her experiences dating Dex and Dr. Grant. Jackson approaches Kelly, his longing for a kiss apparent as he takes her face into his hands. The air between them is charged with desire. However, their romantic moment is cut short as the bleeding of Tia interrupts them, causing them both to pull back. Kelly laughs at the interruption, saying that she should get Tia back where she belongs, and she thanks him again before they part ways. The next morning, Kelly rises to find her inbox brimming with a deluge of orders. Just then, her attention is diverted by the doorbell. Upon opening the door, she discovers a bountiful bouquet of flowers from Dr. Grant, bearing the humble message that he is more proficient in flora than poetry. The gesture causes Kelly to beam with a buoyant glow, then she retires back to her abode. Jackson is poised nearby and is transfixed by Kelly's delicate charms. After gathering his courage, he finally approaches her and tentatively asks if she would care to join him on an excursion. Kelly acquiesces, and they venture to Rocket and Dash, a sumptuous riding camp. Kelly is awestruck by the majesty of the horses and the lush, verdant landscape. As they stroll, Jackson reveals that the horses are retired competition champions, and the owner is contemplating selling the ranch. Jackson is considering the prospect of purchasing the horses for the riding camp and is striving to devise a plan to make it a reality. Their conversation is brought to a halt by the arrival of Mr. Fisher, Jackson's former coach. The two share a warm embrace and exchange pleasantries. Mr. Fisher introduces himself to Kelly, who is effusive in her praise of the ranch and the horses. As they chat, Jackson's phone rings, alerting him to the arrival of a grocery store client, and he excuses himself. Left alone with Mr. Fisher, Kelly inquires about Jackson's decision to leave behind his competitive career. Though initially hesitant, Mr. Fisher ultimately commends Jackson's exceptional talent, noting that he was one of the best in his class and could have gone pro if he wanted to. Jackson returns, feeling reinvigorated, and invites Kelly for a ride. Mr. Fisher encourages them, insisting that they take advantage of the opportunity. Kelly prepares the horse, displaying remarkable ease with the animal. As they set off, Kelly shares poignant memories of horseback riding with her father before his illness. The two ride alongside each other, Jackson utterly captivated by Kelly's intrepid spirit and radiant personality. Similarly, Kelly finds herself enchanted by Jackson's rugged charm and daring nature. Sitting on the soft grass, surrounded by the beauty of nature, Kelly and Jackson engage in a heartfelt conversation that touches upon the deepest parts of their lives. Kelly's curiosity piques as she asks Jackson about his past and how he got started in the world of horse riding. Jackson explains that he practically lived at the riding camp, beginning training and competing at the tender age of 4. Kelly is impressed by his skill and dedication at such a young age. However, her natural curiosity leads her to ask the inevitable question, why did he stop? Jackson's answer is tinged with sadness as he tells her about the loss of his parents and the subsequent need to take care of his younger sister, Jane. Kelly listens with compassion and asks him how he managed to take care of his sister. Jackson explains that they took care of each other, but it was the presence of Mr. Fisher, who was like a second father to him, that made things bearable. Kelly expresses her regret that the Fishers have decided to retire and close the riding camp, which is clearly close to Jackson's heart. Despite the sadness of the situation, Jackson seems to be in a good place in his life. Kelly can't help but notice how attractive he is, and the chemistry between them is palpable. They both seem to be enjoying each other's company. Kelly tells him about the success of her business, and Jackson congratulates her, genuinely happy for her. As they sit in the midst of the natural beauty, Kelly and Jackson's connection grows stronger. In the following scene, Sahara dashes to her mother and shares the news that Kelly has sent her a message indicating that she is in love. Caroline beams with joy and inquires whether her daughter's newfound love interest is either the doctor, Mr. Grant, or the instructor, Dex. Sahara reveals that it is neither of them but, in fact, their neighbor, Jackson. Caroline appears taken aback, musing on the unpredictable nature of life and how fate can unexpectedly bring people together. Sahara proposes that the letters they sent were responsible for this union, yet Caroline believes that their purpose was solely to bring Kelly happiness and help her find her ideal match. Caroline declares that they must complete sending the remaining 14 letters, but Sahara questions why. Caroline dismisses the inquiry, refusing to disclose any further details. Later, Jackson is seen waiting in his car by the letterbox, determined to uncover the identity of the secret admirer. Suddenly, a car pulls up, and to his surprise, it is Sahara. The following morning, the town is in full swing with a joyous festival. Jackson is reveling in the festivities, spreading laughter and delight among children, playing games and boosting their confidence. The air is filled with applause, singing, balloons, and merriment. Kelly, meanwhile, is manning her stand and basking in her success, having already sold all her products. Allison approaches Jackson, offering him a drink and inviting him to dance with her later. She appears interested in him, but he is not reciprocating her affections. Spotting Sahara, he approaches her and urges her to tell Kelly the truth about the letters before someone gets hurt. As the evening wears on, Kelly's anticipation for the festival grows stronger. She carefully selects the perfect dress, ensuring that every detail is just right. When she finally arrives at the party, her sister Sahara marvels at her beauty, causing her cheeks to flush with a warm glow. But just as Sahara is about to reveal something important, Caroline interrupts, effusing over Kelly's appearance and pulling her into an embrace. Kelly tries to refocus on her sister, but Sahara dismisses her news as unimportant. Then, Jackson appears, tall and handsome, his eyes sparkling as he takes in Kelly's radiant beauty. Caroline chimes in, insisting that the two of them should be dancing together. As Jackson leads Kelly onto the dance floor, she feels a surge of excitement and moves with him in perfect harmony. Amidst the swirling lights and music, Sahara tells her mother that they need to tell Kelly urgently about the love letters they've been sending her. But Caroline is hesitant, not wanting to ruin the joyful atmosphere. Finally, Sahara agrees to keep it quiet for the time being. As Kelly and Jackson dance, he engages her in conversation, asking about her booth at the festival and how her relationship with her mother has been. She tells him that it has improved since her father's passing, and as they sway to the beat of the music, she rests her head on his shoulder, feeling safe and secure in his arms. But their moment of bliss is shattered when Allison takes the stage, cutting the music, and asks Kelly's secret admirer to reveal himself, whether he is Dr. Grant, Dex, or Jackson. But Caroline and Sahara admit that they are the ones responsible. Kelly is left in utter shock and disbelief. In tears, she confronts her mother, demanding to know why she would do something like this. Caroline explains that she only wanted to encourage Kelly to explore the world and fall in love, but Kelly can't help feeling like she's been manipulated. Kelly runs from the party, devastated. Jackson, sensing her pain, follows after her in an attempt to console her. Jackson's heart races as he sprints after Kelly, calling out to her in desperation. In a sad voice, Kelly tells him that the whole ordeal is over, but the damage has already been done. Her pride has been shattered in front of the entire town, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. She questions how they could do this to her, how they could subject her to such mortification. But Jackson tries to ease her pain, insisting that Sahara and her mother only meant well. He reminds her that she is lucky to have people who care about her so deeply, even if their methods were unconventional. However, Kelly is unable to shake off her anger and resentment towards Jackson. She blames him for not revealing the truth sooner, for not being a true friend. Her voice quavers as she demands to know why he didn't think it was his place to share such important information with her. Jackson tries to explain himself. He tells her that he didn't want to cause any more drama, that her mother and sister promised to tell her sooner. But Kelly is inconsolable, her tears flowing freely as she accuses him of only caring about her land and money. Jackson's heart aches as he hears her words, knowing that they are far from the truth. He interrupts her, his voice firm and resolute, insisting that he only wants her. He begs her to listen, to understand that he doesn't care about her possessions, only about her heart. But Kelly is too hurt to listen, too angry to give him a chance to explain. She turns her back on him and climbs back into her car, driving away without a backwards glance. In the ensuing sequence, Kelly is depicted in a state of melancholy and distress as she goes through the letters in her room. The next day, she catches sight of Jackson and endeavors to grin at him, but he completely snubs her, refusing to meet her gaze, which makes her sad. Later, when checking her email, Kelly is inundated with a torrent of orders and feels confounded and overpowered as she struggles to keep up with the deluge. Sitting in front of her computer, she is jolted from her work by the ring of the doorbell. It is her mother and sister, who come clean and admit that they were the senders of the letters. Kelly rebuffs their interference, assuring them that she is content with her life and does not need their intervention. Her mother, Caroline, proceeds to reveal an account that she had kept from Kelly until now, describing how she was once happy with her life, or so she thought, until the letters convinced her to consider the possibility of being even happier. Caroline goes on to explain that she was engaged to someone else when she fell in love with Kelly's father, who had been her great friend from school. She reveals that upon learning of her engagement, Kelly's father sent her a historical love letter every day for 14 days, hoping to change her mind and sway her heart in his favor. Caroline confesses that calling off the wedding was no easy task, but it was the best decision she ever made. Kelly is taken aback and asks why her mother never shared any of this with her. Caroline confides that it was their private love story. However, after losing her husband, Caroline realized that it is time to disclose his letters to Kelly. She hands over the letters, and Kelly takes them, scrutinizing them and recognizing how much she had sensationalized the situation. Sahara, Kelly's sister, then suggests that there is a palpable connection between Kelly and Jackson, and that Kelly should not give up on him just yet. Caroline concurs, pointing out that Kelly's father never gave up on her, and neither should she. The scene concludes with the three of them beaming with satisfaction. In the subsequent scene, the audience witnesses a gloomy Jackson talking to Mr. Fisher on the phone. He sounds defeated and dejected while breaking the news that he can't buy the riding camp and horses. Shortly after, Kelly pays Jackson a visit at his workplace, using a soft and gentle voice as she asks if any of her goats are present. However, Jackson hardly acknowledges her and gives her a curt and dismissive response when he asks if she needs anything. Despite his aloofness, Kelly tries to open up to Jackson about her feelings, revealing that she was upset the other night. However, Jackson interrupts her and dismisses it as a misunderstanding. Kelly is taken aback and presses him about his previous mention of falling in love, but Jackson's hostility only intensifies as he denies it and admits he was mistaken. Kelly refuses to let Jackson get away with his dismissal so quickly and insists that he wasn't wrong. Jackson tries to explain himself, saying he got caught up in something, but he reassures Kelly that it's over now. With that, he coldly leaves her alone, leaving Kelly feeling rejected and hurt. The next day, Jackson makes his final visit to the riding camp. Mr. Fisher joins him and notes his presence, to which Jackson explains that he came for one last ride. Mr. Fisher observes that Kelly is absent, prompting Jackson to clarify that she's not his girlfriend. When Mr. Fisher suggests that Jackson desires her, Jackson responds that it's complicated. Mr. Fisher acknowledges that relationships can be difficult to navigate, particularly for someone who has suffered loss, as Jackson has. Jackson had closed himself off from others since his parents' death, and Mr. Fisher had recognized his guarded nature. Nevertheless, Mr. Fisher expresses his faith that someone will eventually break through Jackson's emotional walls. Jackson insists that he and Kelly are only friends, but Mr. Fisher reminds him that he brought her to the riding camp, which carries significant meaning. As Mr. Fisher taps Jackson on the shoulder and departs, Jackson embarks on his final ride. Jackson mounts his horse and sets off on a long ride through the fields. His face is etched with sadness, and his thoughts are consumed with his recent disappointments. Next, Kelly pays a visit to Sahara at the library, and the two busy themselves putting books in order. While working, Kelly confesses that Jackson was avoiding her gaze, prompting Sahara to suggest that Kelly's pride might be blocking her from understanding what Jackson is trying to convey. Uncertain of how to demonstrate to Jackson that their bond is genuine, Sarah reminisces about a time when Rob and she were dating, and shared a chocolate coffee muffin at the bakery. Rob would always give her the top part, claiming that he preferred the bottom, which she regarded as a heavenly match. After their marriage, she discovers that Rob actually adored the top part of the muffin, and he had given her the best part, knowing that it was her favorite. Rob had willingly relinquished something he cherished for her happiness. After a period of quiet reflection, Kelly is struck by an idea and turns to Sahara, expressing her gratitude for the assistance. Kelly departs, determined to put her plan into action. In the following scene, Jackson is seen returning home. The car pulls up to his house, and he steps out to check the letterbox. A letter with his name on it catches his eye. It reads that when refuge from lightning sparks an undeniable connection, a new mystery begins. Later, at his workspace, he finds another letter waiting for him. This one speaks of lands meeting and lives joining together, hinting at a future filled with promise and possibility. With a sense of purpose driving him forward, he makes his way to Kelly's land, eager to unravel the mystery and uncover the truth that awaits him. He discovers a final letter that says that where horses graze, the mystery can finally be solved with open minds and open hearts. As he raises his head, he catches sight of Kelly, and he strides towards her. Kelly reveals that she has bought the horses, and tells him that they are on loan until Jackson can purchase them from Mr. Fisher. She couldn't bear to let Rocket and Dash go to someone else. Her love and devotion overwhelm him, and he expresses concern for her business and her land. But Kelly reassures him that they have more than enough space for their future together, and with a gesture of her love, she gives him the rest of the land. Overcome with emotion, Jackson pulls out a letter that he wrote for Kelly because he noticed how much she loved the letters he had received. Kelly throws the letter aside, telling Jackson that she just wants him, and they share a passionate kiss. In this moment of truth, Jackson admits that he had been closed off for so long, finding it difficult to express his emotions. But now, with Kelly, he knows that he is in love with her more than anything else. Kelly returns his sentiments, confessing that she loves him just as deeply. They share another kiss, the world fading away around them as they hold on to each other, their love transcending everything else. The movie ends with Jackson and Kelly's embrace radiating a feeling of love and passion, leaving the viewers with a warm, fuzzy feeling in their hearts.